Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I had to make this video. Candace Owens, what are you doing? I don't think I've ever in my life seen her embarrass herself so much. I mean, it was so embarrassing that it was cringing. It was confusing. It was, I don't know. And you know, Candace Owens, for those of you who I'm sure know, is the black lady the black conservative woman who mostly all black people seem to hate. And I'm not one of those black people. You know, I tend to agree with Candace Owens a lot on many topics that she talks about. But this right here was just, I mean, it was so bad. All right. So to fill you all in, there's this guy by the name of Steven Crowder, who is also a conservative, who recently came out and exposed a company, right? He didn't say what company it was, but it was a conservative media platform that was allegedly offering their employees bad contracts, right? Basically, he was making the point that as a conservative, we're supposed to be, or I should say we, I have a lot of conservative points, but I don't consider myself conservative. But Steven Crowder was making the point that as a conservative, he was under the impression that conservatives are supposed to be fighting against big tech, not in the bed with them, right? Not doing business with them. And he was disappointed when he was offered a contract by some company or something of that sort. And he realized that a lot of the things within the contract was trying to censor conservatives, right? Was trying to penalize, you know, within the contracts, it had it where you will be penalized as a conservative if you talked about certain things. If you were given a content strike or a copyright strike on your YouTube channel, if you were ever to be demonetized, you will be, you know, penalized by that company, that conservative company, by like 20% and 25%, $100,000 in a day, just ridiculous numbers. And he was basically disappointed, right? So the way I've always seen conservatism, I see it as like recognizing that we live in a society that tells you that Black lives matter except in the womb. Black lives matter except when other black people are killing black people. Love is love unless you love God or love your country. Then you're a right-wing extremist and a bigot, right? You live in a society that tells you that everything's equal and we're not going to judge anybody based on race, gender, or faith unless you're a heterosexual white male that's a Christian, and then you're the devil, right? This is the society that we live in. We live in a society that tells you that women's rights are human rights, but nobody can tell you what a woman is because anybody can identify as a woman, including men, right? And we understand the hypocrisy, we understand the contradictions, or I should say conservatives understand the contradictions, right? And I also understand the contradictions, so we speak out against things like that. So he was disappointed about that. So he made a video about it, and it kind of blew up. Anyways, Candace Owens recently responded to Steven Crowder. And the first red flag is that she titled her video as Steven Crowder is a drama queen. If anybody can be called a drama queen, Candace Owens, you should be the last person calling somebody a drama queen. Respectfully.
Big tech is in bed with big con. The people you thought, the people I thought were fighting for you, a lot of it has been a big con. Now, I'm specifically avoiding naming names or going after individuals in this video because I genuinely hope that those I'm addressing, and you know who you are, have a change of heart. Don't sign these contracts. I now know what you are signing out there. I have the luxury of not having to. You know, let me go through this. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, the fee will be reduced by 25%. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20%. Just to drive it home, you get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day. This is what's sent out to everybody.
All right, so you get the gist of this. It is a super predatory contract. And I'm going to tell you two things that I thought. First and foremost, to give something a name like the Big Con, obviously, it was mudslinging. And if this was the Daily Wire, which I wasn't entirely sure that it was, but as I said, it was heavily implied, then he also threw mud on me. He threw mud on Matt Walsh. He threw mud on Michael Knowles. He threw mud on every single person, Brett Cooper, that works for Daily Wire, by implying that we are signing these contracts and he is heroic for not signing it. And pulling out excerpts of the contract to say basically we're beholden to big tech, right? And I don't like that. If you want to rev up your engine and fire up your big truck, don't get mud on my car, right? That's my thing. If you want to go to war, keep me out of it. At least say this was a contract that was offered to me. He kind of makes this plea. And again, people were just on board with it. But I will also be honest that I was a bit disturbed. Like I said, heavy accusations that this is how the contracts are being handled. This would mean and imply that I was working for an organization that is not acting in the capacity of what I would like, how I would like them to act, right? Or acting in good faith toward the talent. And it felt predatory. So the first thing that I did was I reached out to executives here and was like, what is this? Are you guys going to respond to this? I want to know whether or not you're actually treating people poorly behind the scenes, because it matters to me. It's always mattered to me, okay? You can speak to any organization that's ever worked with me. I have a very good reputation. I maintain friendships with everybody. I do. I don't personally know Steven Crowder. To be honest, the first time I ever had any correspondence with him, he was a bit of a dick to me. You can bleep that out, whatever. But he offered me online to come on the show. I said yes. And an hour later, he lied and said that I canceled, and I never did. And then he corrected it and said, oh, we got confused. And I just thought that's pretty crappy that you publicly tweeted. At the time, I think he had more followers than me, that I canceled on your show, and I never did. But anyways, I never met him in person, and I think he's tremendously talented. And I laughed all the way through his election night coverage. So I didn't really have a horse in this race, and I wanted the Daily Wire to respond.
Imagine making an entire video responding to someone without actually acknowledging what it is that what they accused you of, or what it is that their entire video was about, because he actually didn't even talk about Candace Owens. It was as if she took it personal. She wanted to make it about her. And I don't even know why she hasn't taken this video down yet. Candace Owens is like, hey, Steven Crowder, don't throw mud on my name. Also, Candace Owens literally runs across the field, jumps into mud, rolls around in it, and then acts surprised that people think you stink after rolling in mud. Candace Owens is like, hey, Steven Crowder, if you want to go to war with the Daily Wire, then keep me out of it. Also, Candace Owens makes an entire living of involving herself in situations that have very little to nothing to do with her, and then making the entire situation about her and very little of anything else. I just think it's hypocritical, and she's showing her true colors here, and all she's doing is making the people happy. All the people that root against her, all the people who call her a hypocrite, all the people that call her a quote-unquote bootlicker. You're making their point when you're showing your colors like this. I just don't get it. It's like I accuse you of stealing a cookie. You respond to me and talk about everything else but what I accuse you of doing. Or I accuse, like it was just weird, right? And one of the things she said in the video was that at the time he had more followers than me. Who said that's something a 14-year-old girl would say? Now, it pains me, but it doesn't really pain me because I'm critical of anyone. But there's already the stigma on Candace Owens that she don't like black people, which is why she married a white man. There's already the stigma on Candace Owens that she never criticizes white people as it pertains to race and the topic of racism, but she always talks about black people as it pertains to race and racism and black privilege and things of that sort. So when you do things like this, Candace, you just make yourself look bad because you're attacking someone who's on your side and who made a great point. It's so bad, I'm going to read some of the comments under her own video. It's very mature and professional to get upset with someone, ignore the argument that they make, and call them names. I've seen my 7-year-old behave this way many times. Very disappointed, Candace. You know in your heart Steven is pushing the movement in the right direction. Agreed. He didn't throw mud on anyone besides the Daily Wire offering the quote-unquote term sheet of their contracts. Jeremy's response dismissed the entire point of Steven's rant, just like Candace just did, submitting to big tech while censoring talking points that must be discussed. Stop the lies. I can't imagine having such an unhinged rant on Timcast and then saying someone else is a drama queen. And what this person is referring to is Candace Owens herself, who tends to listen. I'll say this about Candace, and I'll say this about Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is another guy, another conservative who works for the Daily Wire. And Daily Wire, Matt Walsh is one of those people who makes a living, literally. He gets paid and gets a paycheck for criticizing people, saying negative things about people, pointing out negative things in society. But I will give Matt Walsh this. He has the ability and the skill to make it entertaining and almost educational at the same time. With Candace Owens, when you go to her channel, it almost seems redundant, it seems oversaturated, and it also seems like gossip, right? I think it takes a certain amount of skill and gift and a certain amount of balance where it doesn't seem like you're just gossiping about people. And when it comes to Candace, just like this Steven Crowder video, like, I don't know why you didn't take this down. Like, you just gossip. Gossip is typically lies. Gossip is typically just wanting to hear yourself talk instead of just pointing out and having a clear point. The man talked about the contracts. You made the video about money. This was very disappointing. I don't know why she did this. It was embarrassing. I think she's humiliating herself. I find it interesting how Candace would go guns a-blazing for Kanye, who brought up Ben Shapiro, which I agree with Candace in that particular case for what it's worth. Yet Steven didn't name names, and she just spent her entire time focusing on everything that Steven didn't say in his initial video and then calls him names. It honestly was never that serious as some of the people of the Daily Wire are making it out to be, as it's simply just different priorities, right? And I just think this right here is a prime example of what happens when you just find yourself being more emotional and not logical, which is ironic because that tends to be what Candace Owens has based her career off, and that's logical thinking instead of emotional thinking. Y'all hop in the comment section, because I know a lot of y'all, especially a lot of y'all black people, gonna be happy that I made a video being critical of Candace Owens, because if you've been following this channel, you know I support and I agree with a lot of things she talks about. But this was ridiculous. Y'all hop in the comment section and y'all give me y'all thoughts. Until next time, peace.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.